Hello everyone, I am Andrea King, Miss World Guyana and the founder of Project Flow Financial Literacy Orientation. For this episode of Common Sense, I'm thrilled to be hosting a special Women's International Day episode along with my guest speaker, Anita Ramprasad. Anita is an expert in the field of strategy, corporate finance, and risk management. In this episode, we will explore the ways in which financial literacy acts as a foundation for independence and empowerment for women. This episode is sponsored by MMG and powered by NewsSource. Thank you to our other sponsors who made this episode possible, including Lucozade, M&M Snackit, Virtual Solutions Guyana, and the Little Gift Box GY. So, Anita, talking about financial literacy, I know it's broadly defined as the education that allows you to properly manage your finances in terms of how you save, how you spend, and how you invest. But what I have found through my research and my work with Project Flow is that financial literacy is much more than just knowledge or education. It focuses on the behaviors, how we interact with money, our purchasing decisions, our spending habits, how we budget and plan for the future, if at all, our investment choices, our lifestyle choices overall. So in essence, for me, financial literacy not only focuses on the knowledge, but it's about having the right attitudes and behaviors to manage your money well. And it's also a life skill that helps you with managing life, day-to-day life, because finances is in everything we do. And if we're not managing our money properly, then we're really not managing our time and our lives well. So what are your thoughts on this, and why do you think it's important for women to be financially literate?
Well, Andrea, I love the way that you described financial literacy. I want to shift gears and look at it the way a company ought to look at its financial strength.
Okay.
Every decision that a company makes comes down to what is represented in its financial statements. So it doesn't matter how good of a sales strategy you have, how efficient your employees are, how beautiful your building looks, how advanced your technology is. The sum of your decisions is reflected in your financial records. Now, if we translate that to personal life, everything that you said then becomes very true. So it doesn't matter how many degrees we have, at what status we are in our career,
Right.
how many people we know, and how educated or exposed we are. And the sum of our decisions is what is in our bank account and what we're creating with what is in our bank account. And you're right that it is a lifestyle or a mindset, because what you're speaking towards is a lot of content, which is what information is. It's content. But understanding how to put that content into context, meaning understand that time value for money is the most important thing. I think if you have that information, then you're going to understand when is the right time to make a decision and when is the time to restrain yourself from making a decision. And that encompasses managing the elements of risk, which is what exists around us, and that's going to limit our ability to make good financial decisions.
I love that. It's putting content into context. That's a very good thought. So in your experience, what are some of the most common financial mistakes that we as women make? And how would you advise a woman on overcoming those mistakes?
I think this has a lot to do with generational brainwashing. And I'm going to use my mother as an example.
Okay.
I grew up watching my mother when my dad would give her money for the house. She would always put a little bit aside. So if she went to the grocery store and let's say the bill was supposed to be $20,000 and she had $18,000 as expenses and she brought back $2,000, she would put this $2,000 aside for a rainy day. And it was on that $2,000 continuously over time that she was able to give herself the things that she wanted, that she didn't have to go to my dad for, or she was empowered actually, right? Now that simple thing taught me that you always have to put aside for a rainy day, right? And I believe that generationally we have grown up looking at our mom's struggle. You see, we embody what our parents show to us. And if you think back in the history of Guyanese upbringing, it's always been a male-dominant household. I mean, now we're seeing a lot more bridging of that gender gap, where women are more empowered. And things like this obviously add to that discussion. But we've grown up with our moms getting a little pocket piece and they have to manage it, manage the household. And so you always think in lack. You always think you never have enough. We're not engineered to think in abundance.
That's so true.
I do believe, though, we've come a far way from that. I'm so proud to see younger women taking that step to be more independent in the way that they think and coming out of that box that you have to live under the control of a man to make decisions with your money. More women are entering the workplace and they are deciding what they want to do with their money, right? So I believe it's a generational thing that we have to break through. We have to understand that we have the power to make our decisions and that we are the people who are responsible for the decisions that we make today.
Absolutely.
It's not our parents, it's not the government, it's not your employer, it is you. And so I think that that's the most important thing.
Thank you. So the next question I have is a little heavy. So I'm going to take my time and read this. And you kind of just touched on it with the example of your mother. So how can women build their confidence when it comes to making financial decisions, especially if they had little experience with money management in the past?
I think knowledge is power. And we live in an age of information. So ignorance is a true sin. Is a true sin. Everybody and their brother and their sister, the minibus man, the garbage man, has not one, but 2 cell phones. They have data plans that are affordable, and everybody can access Google search and YouTube. There is podcasts, there are YouTube videos. The government is offering free training. There's so many ways to access information.
Yeah.
So if you really want me to put something controversial out there, if you don't have it, it's because you don't want it bad enough. It's not to say that the opportunities are not there to learn, but it's like playing a game. There's no way that a footballer is going to go into a football game without understanding the rules of the game, without understanding how penalties work, how they can get injured, how they can score to win. Those things are critical to their success.
Yeah.
And in a similar manner, life is a game. If you want to win at life, you have to understand the rules, you have to understand the challenges, you have to understand your own limitations. And I believe that the responsibility is ours as women, and as well to impart that onto the girls and who are going to be women of the future.
Right.
That knowledge is power and information is out there. You just have to want it. Nobody can want that for you.
Okay, so in essence, we can build our confidence by doing our own education and empowering ourselves first, and then seeking other avenues and ways of getting that empowerment through resources that are available to us, like training programs, etc.
Yes, and there are so many other women. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Mentorship is a big deal now. There are so many foundations and associations, NGOs such as these, that offer the opportunity for women to be more, not really empowered, but more educated.
Okay.
Because I think if you're not educated, you can't be empowered. You're going to go and it's just going to hit. Yeah. You're going to go and go so far.
So it's one thing that leads into the next.
It's one thing that leads into another, and it's just this circle that you have to be a part of, right? I mean, to win in the game, you have to be playing in the game.
That's true.
You know?
Okay, so we're now going into financial independence. And the angle that I'm going with here is financial independence as a means of preventing or avoiding economic abuse. So Project Flow, the project that I'm working on, aims to bridge the gap in financial literacy for Guyanese. This includes empowering young women and girls through financial literacy education to achieve financial independence from a young age and prevent economic abuse. And for those who may not know, economic abuse involves maintaining control over financial resources, withholding access to money, in an attempt to prevent a victim from working and to create financial dependence as a means of control. So economic abuse is a thing, and it's one of the legally recognized forms of domestic abuse. Economic abuse is a very common reason that many victims stay in domestic violence relationships. So why do you think, in that context, financial independence is important for women?
If I relate the question to the context, I would say that's not the only thing that's probably going to solve that problem. I mean, there's definitely a lot more that goes into a woman escaping.
Escaping, right.
Escaping is a good word. Or freeing herself from her abuser. But you're right. That economic oppression, if you will, is one of the most dominant reasons why women stay in abusive relationships. And in abusive relationships, it's rarely ever just one form of abuse. I mean, it starts at one thing and then it's this whole cycle of
snowball.
oppression.
Right.
Yes, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
But understanding that as well, even if you do one thing for yourself and you understand, you see, there are many things that you can do in life, but you can't do everything and get the same result. You have to do what is the most important thing to do. You got to do what matters then.
Right.
So if we're thinking, or if we're going to go along the lines that being financially literate leads to financial empowerment, and since empowerment is the opposite of oppression, it stands to reason that if women were confident enough in their ability to separate themselves financially, even if it's just for a period until, that perhaps there would be more stories of victims becoming victors, right? Because what essentially happens is, even if they find the courage to leave, what do you think they do? They go back home to mom and dad, and then they're in this cycle where they can't come out of it.
Yeah.
So I really see this financial empowerment through literacy as being one of the critical success factors for women who want to restart their lives or restart a life after getting out of an oppressive situation like that, right? But I mean, it's not exactly easy. Nobody says it's going to be.
Yeah.
But again, it comes back to what I'm saying. If you want it and you know you're worth it, you can't let somebody take that power from you.
Right. So financial independence is critical to empowerment.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. So my next question, how can entrepreneurship be a path towards financial independence for women?
I'm glad you asked that question. And a lot of it has been going around women in business, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And there's some disparity in thoughts where people believe that you have to pursue your own business, and that means you can't have a career. I beg to differ. You're never going to be successful in business, and successful means it's sustainable for years, and it's not just a one-hit wonder, a one-shot thing, like you establish a business today and you're out of business in a year. Why? Because you don't have the capacity, you don't have the experience, you don't have the resources to continuously scale your business. That's a real challenge, and I want to put that out there. Because this fallacy of entrepreneurship seems attractive, especially now where our economy is offering so many opportunities that we didn't have before. And this includes women. I mean, women are branching out into sectors where it is completely male-dominated, and I applaud them for that. But you always have to weigh the risk of things when you're doing it, because risk and reward go hand in hand. And if you're talking about financial management, that's probably the most important lesson you will learn. That the key to independence or financial success is managing risk and reward. You have to take risk to get that reward. Investing in yourself is a risk. Investing in a business is a risk. But for women who want to do that, I would say it's important to pay attention to your career. Because if you don't have that base, it's going to be incredibly difficult to start a business and keep it going. Even if you have the money and you're going to get somebody else to do it for you. I mean, how will you vet? How will you hold them accountable if you don't have the skill? I could tell you, they could run rings around you, right? And skill isn't just qualifications and knowledge, that's information. But it's when you're able to real time, in real life, apply that, and you can learn, because you're not going to succeed at everything at every time. When you can do that over time, that's when you build skill, knowing what to do in those tough situations, right? But coming back to the point, there is no reason why you can't be in a career and then do something that you're passionate about, right? And it is a successful model.
Yeah.
You have a full-time career. You found the time to do this. I mean, it is of some benefit to you, but it's of greater benefit to other people.
Yeah.
And you found the time. You're a very young and ambitious woman. And I think it's a good role model. It's a good model for other young women to emulate. And I want to mention Outliers Zone, who teaches young girls. I know that Atalia, she inspires girls as young as 8 to be their own CEOs.
Yeah.
Saving with their little piggy bank, doing odd jobs around the house. That's how you learn entrepreneurial skills, you know. Once you're making money and managing money, you're an entrepreneur. You do your little lemonade stand, your chores, people's homework. There are so many ideas that you can exchange a skill or a service for money.
Right.
So it's not as complicated as you think. You start small, and when you learn to manage the small things, it is easier to manage the bigger things.
Okay, so start small, learn to manage the small things, and then it's easier to manage the big things. So that's how entrepreneurship can be a gateway for financial independence for so many women. And coming off from financial independence and moving on to empowerment, how do you think financial empowerment can help to address some of the unique challenges that women face? For example, the gender pay gap.
I'm going to equate that to knowing your worth. They say value is determined by those who are willing to pay the price. That's something I read on the internet, and it was so profound to me. Usually with my clients, I tell them I don't negotiate my worth. This is what it is worth. And if you don't set your worth, then you are leaving the assignment of your value in the hands of people who don't know what that is. Right? So as women, I say that's a fundamental thing that you have to get there, right? But having just that in your head, thinking, oh, I'm worth this, can come off as arrogant if you don't have the thing to support that. And that means you have to be a person of worth, a person of value. And how do you do that? You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your education, invest in what you're doing for self-care. I mean, you can't just work all the time. Life is a thing of balance. It's a delicate balance between all the little check boxes that we have to check off that we do as women, and you know this. I mean, you have home, family, your spouse or partner, you want to look good, you want your nails to look and your hair. The pressure is there, we know it.
Yeah.
So women have a lot more things that they place emphasis on as being a priority for them. And it's so easy to lose yourself in what is truly important when it comes to being a person of value. But investing in yourself allows you that leverage of negotiation, right? So when you walk into that job interview, your resume itself is your bargaining chip. But if you walk in there and you haven't done anything, and I mean, come on, right? So again, it all comes back to how women choose to empower themselves. You see, empowerment is a choice, you know.
Okay.
Oppression is also a choice. Everything is a choice. And I think that that's the most powerful thing that a woman can learn. That is, it is you who decides whether you're going to win at life or fail at life. Nobody can't make you feel anything or do anything. You have to make those decisions yourself.
All right. So what I got from that is that being financially empowered through education and investing in yourself helps you to know your worth and to set your worth when it comes to negotiating a salary or a contract or anything where you need to receive finances in exchange for your services. Right. Okay. All right, so finally, in your experience, what are some of the key barriers that prevent women from achieving financial empowerment, and how can we overcome them?
This is going to sound really cold, but it has to be said. Sometimes we are our worst enemy. I think the quicker we can get over ourselves and get out of our heads, the faster we will achieve success in anything, including this. There's a lot of negative self-talk that women have to battle. So I think that this hindrance, these barriers that you're talking about are self-imposed. Because I can't think of one thing that is not available to a woman who wants it. I can't think of one thing. And as a woman, I can tell you, I don't struggle to find opportunity. I don't struggle to find knowledge. I don't struggle to find a business to invest in. Why? Because I go looking for it. But just imagine if I had all of that. And up here, my mind was telling me, girl, you're not good enough. You're not going to get it. They're going to laugh at you. You're not saying the right thing. So the greatest barrier a woman can probably face what goes on in her head.
Right.
And again, that's a combination of many things. But I believe that if you want to overcome this barrier, then everything in life can be changed by one decision, and that is your decision to do it differently. And for you to come to that decision, it is obvious that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's when change really happens. And it's going to be messy. It's going to be painful. There's going to be uncertainty. But you know what's the beauty of uncertainty? When nothing is certain, everything is possible. So women just have to give up this idea of control is an illusion. It's for weak people. Honing your power is knowing that you have the right and the power to make your decisions. The truth is, it can go right or it can go wrong. But you got to try, you're never going to know. If it goes wrong, you acknowledge what you didn't do right. You pay attention to what you did do right, because nothing in life is all bad or all good. There's some good, some bad.
Right. And that's how you learn and grow.
So I think if women can just allow themselves to be vulnerable, but in a good way, and just believe in themselves a little bit more, I believe once that empowerment starts up there, it will manifest itself in the way they speak, in the way they think, in the way they act, in that energy. And what you give off is what you're going to get back.
So it's true. I think that everything that you give off, it comes back to you. So the energy that you give off, if you walk into a room thinking I am deserving, you're going to
receive everything. Yes, you will receive.
But I know it's difficult for some women who are not there yet mentally to get to that level of self-empowerment. That's why mentorship is so important. So I want to ask you, this wasn't part of my questions, but just from the conversation, I want to ask you, has there been a mentor in your life? And are there any mentorship programs or any NGOs that offer these type of mentorship to women that you can recommend to anybody who's listening and they need that type of empowerment?
So I would say there's a distinction between mentorship in a professional sense and probably aligning your issues, for which you might need a coach, a counselor, a therapist, and there's no shame in that. I did that. You got to heal your trauma. There is no shame in that. Believe me, Andrea. People are not everything that they post to be. Don't let those Instagram stories and filters fool you. Everybody is fighting some demon. We all in the same hell. We're just fighting different devils. So I think acceptance is so important. But there is a distinction between mentorship in a professional sense. And for entrepreneurs, there is the Accelerate Her, the Her Venture, the Sherry Blair Foundation for Girls and Women. The resources are there. They can even get resources from the Women's Chamber of Commerce. There are therapists, there are coaches. I myself am a mindset coach. So that is a service I offer.
Yes. Plug that in there.
Put that in there. Right. Yes. The resources are there. But again, it comes back. How badly do you want it? How badly do you want to be one of those empowered, financially literate, successful, deserving women of worth that when you walk into a room, and I can tell you I experienced this. I've gone through my highs and lows. That's why if I walk into a room, I know that I'm there to win. You're going to love me. And that energy comes back to me. But if I walk in there thinking I'm not good enough, chances are I probably won't be good enough.
Right.
You know? So it's all about your thinking. It's all about your thinking.
And I have found that the power of the mind is much greater than we know it. So if you see yourself in a certain light and you truly believe that this is who I am, you're going to start walking in that path, and I find the world will open up and respond to you however you see yourself. So it really starts within us. The power of the mind is so incredible, and also the power of the tongue. So one thing that I like to practice doing is to speak life into myself, speak success and speak empowerment into myself. And I choose to go out into the world being an empowered woman. I choose to wake up feeling successful. Everything that I want, I already say that I have it. This is mine. I just need to go and get it. So that's something that I have done for myself. And I am open to mentorship. I know you said that we have to want it first, and there's absolutely no shame in that. I know so many people who have gone through mentorship professional coaching, therapy, counseling, and they've all been able to change their lives. So it's truly a transformational process, but you have to decide to want it first. And I know that's something that a lot of women struggle with, people in general, but especially women, because the world always puts us into a box. And every day we wake up, we go on social media, we see, oh, we're supposed to be this, we're supposed to be that, we're supposed to be gorgeous, we're supposed to be caregivers, we're supposed to be homemakers. And now in this day and age, we're supposed to be career women, we're supposed to be entrepreneurs, we're supposed to be, it's so much. And I know it can weigh a lot on the mind. And some women probably feel, oh, all this pressure. So where do I begin? But
I want to tell you. First of all,
I know you've been through it.
I've been there. I'm all of those things. But I am who I decide that I am.
Yeah.
If I decide today is the day I'm going to do self-care, I'm going to do anything else, I will put that phone down and you're going to wait until tomorrow. And that comes back to you knowing your worth, understanding your value, and not negotiating on things that matter for you.
Right.
Yes, the mindset is very important. And I know that a lot of people struggle with it. And it's simply because, one, they don't really know what they want. Mm-hmm. Some people need to be guided. I mean, as a mindset coach, I can tell you sometimes you have to guide people to an outcome because they have like bits and a lot of moving pieces that they haven't really put into this photo frame. It's just like the pieces of a puzzle scattered on the floor and they don't have the picture from the puzzle, so they don't really know how to work it through and you're just trying to figure it out. Most people are in that stage. And then some people have the picture so they know how the puzzle is supposed to fit together. Everybody is at different stages. I think you have to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey looks different.
Yes.
It comes at different timings. It's not going to be the same for everybody. And you have to run your race. Be in your own lane. You're not here to live nobody else's life but yours. You got to focus on yourself. Yeah. I think the most important thing that you can do is you have to acknowledge, one, your strengths, and you have to know what your limitations are. Because if you don't know what those are and you don't acknowledge them, you can't change them. The second thing that keeps people from change is fear of the unknown. And even though something might be traumatic for someone to deal with, it's comfortable for them. It's what they're used to. Some people don't know who they are outside of their trauma. They have lived for so many years in that traumatic existence. They don't know what it's like to live outside of it, or they don't feel they have a right to be happy. Or if they're happy for a while, they're afraid that it's going to be taken from them. And those are legitimate concerns. It is natural to feel that fear. Right? But you see, fear can be so crippling when you allow it to be. And when I give speeches, I often say, fear is a thing when you acknowledge it, it can empower you. But if you resist it, it's going to limit you.
Yeah.
So you have to, I do that all the time. I mean, I talk to myself. I know it can go wrong, but I'm cool if it is. You see, immediately now, you've empowered yourself into thinking, I'm okay. If they come, if they go, if they clap, if they don't, if they laugh, if they don't.
You're okay.
You can't control people.
Right.
You can only control yourself
and how you react.
And how you react to it. And you get to decide how you want to react to it.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful message to just wrap up with. I know we strayed off the topic of financial literacy, empowerment, and independence a little bit, but I think it was important for all the women listening to hear that. Mm-hmm. So everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. What we were discussing here is the importance of financial literacy and how that can serve as a foundation for independence and financial empowerment for women. So Anita, thank you so much for joining me. And once again, this was a special episode on the Common Sense podcast for Women's International Day. This special episode was sponsored by MMG. Even as a subscriber, a little hustle can bring in a little fine change because subscribers can earn up to 4.5% on each top-up they complete. Small business owners can earn more by becoming an agent, especially during the tough times when business slows down. Thank you to our other sponsors, News Source GY, Lucasade, M&M Snack It, Virtual Solutions Guyana, and The Little Gift Box.